10 interesting facts you don't know about Queen Elizabeth II. 1. She was born in a London townhouse on April 21, 1926. She was the first child of the Duke and Duchess of York, the future King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother and the eldest granddaughter of King George V. Queen Elizabeth II was not born in a palace, she was instead born in a townhouse in London that belonged to her Scottish maternal grandparents, the Earl and Countess of Strathmore at 17 Bruton Street on April 21, 1926. At the place now stands a world-famous Cantonese restaurant called Hakkasan. 2. She was homeschooled. Her education was confined to reading, writing, French, the piano, and dancing. At that point, Governess Marion Crawford, whom the Atlantic characterized as Scottish, an Edinburgh graduate, well-traveled, a lover of fresh air and exercise, took over Elizabeth's education. After her father had become king in 1936 and Elizabeth became the heir presumptive, she began studying constitutional history and law with Henry Marden, the vice provost of Eton College. She also took lessons in religion from the Archbishop of Canterbury, and had other teachers of special subjects, such as French, German, and music. 3. She made her first radio broadcast at age 14. The Queen might be known for her radio and television broadcasts, but she first spoke on the radio at the age of 14. She delivered a radio broadcast in 1940 on Children's Hour. Speaking about children being evacuated, she said on BBC's Children's Hour, "I can truthfully say to you all that we children at home are full of cheerfulness and courage. We are trying to do all we can to help our gallant sailors, soldiers and airmen, and we are trying, too, to bear our own share of the danger and sadness of war." 4. She was the only female member of the British royal family to have served in the military. Before she became Queen Elizabeth, Princess Elizabeth volunteered as a truck driver and mechanic during World War II. Despite the risks, Elizabeth eventually joined the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service and trained as a truck driver and mechanic in 1945, when she was 18 years old. This made her the first female member of the royal family to serve in the military. 5. She was married to Prince Philip on November 20, 1947. She bought her wedding dress with World War II ration coupons. Queen Elizabeth and her husband Philip were third cousins. Elizabeth is related to Queen Victoria on her father's side, and Philip was related to Queen Victoria on his mother's side. Prince Philip was born into the royal families of Greece and Denmark but renounced his original titles when he married Queen Elizabeth. The Queen and Prince Philip were married for 73 years, until Philip's death on April 9, 2021. They have 4 children, 8 grandchildren and 12 great-grandchildren. 6. She owned more than 30 corgis over the course of her lifetime. The Queen's hobbies included spending time in the countryside, horseback riding and walking her dogs. Her preferred breed of dog was the Pembroke Welsh Corgi. She brought her Corgi Susan on her honeymoon in 1947 and received a Corgi puppy as a gift from members of her family in the spring of 2021. The Royal Corgis became part of the Queen's public image. A British coin commemorating Elizabeth II's Golden Jubilee in 2002 depicted the monarch with a Corgi. A Vanity Fair magazine cover marking her 90th birthday showed the Queen with 4 of her dogs. At the opening ceremony of the 2012 Olympic Summer Games in London, she had over 30 of them in her lifetime, even having as many as 9 at any one time. Most of Her Majesty's corgis were descended from her first corgi, Susan, who was gifted to her on her 18th birthday in 1944. Some of her other corgis included Candy, Lissy, and Monty. Adorable. 7. The Queen did not need a license to drive or a passport to travel. Unlike the rest of us, who have to take a test in order to legally drive a car, Her Majesty followed no such rule. In fact, the monarch is the only person in the UK who did not need to have a driver's license in order to drive on public roads. Not only that, but the Queen did not hold a passport either. That's because both documents were issued in her name, meaning she was not required to have either, a privilege held by the sovereign alone. The Queen is often spotted out taking herself for joy rides in her Range Rover or Jaguar. 8. She became Queen at 25. Her father King George VI died at the age of 56 on February 6, 1952, while Elizabeth was visiting Kenya with her husband, Prince Philip. Queen Elizabeth II was crowned at Westminster Abbey in central London on June 2, 1953. The 25-year-old Queen Elizabeth II became Queen Regnant of 7 independent Commonwealth countries. These countries were the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon, known today as Sri Lanka, as well as the head of the Commonwealth. As Queen, she was served by 15 UK Prime Ministers, She was the longest-serving British monarch. 9. The Queen celebrates 2 birthdays. Although she was born on April 21, 1926, Queen Elizabeth II has 2 recognized birthdays. The first is the actual anniversary of the day she was born, which is April 21, and a separate day that is labeled her official birthday, when the weather is better for the Trooping the Colour parade. She turned 96 on April 21, 2022, but celebrated her official birthday in June, in the midst of her Jubilee celebrations. The tradition of the monarch celebrating an official birthday began more than 250 years ago, with King George II deciding to publicly celebrate his birthday in the summer rather than cold and wet November. And so, since 1748, every British monarch has carried on the tradition, so that there would be less chance of poor weather impeding outdoor celebrations and military parades celebrating their birthdays. 10. Elizabeth II, Queen of the United Kingdom and the other Commonwealth realms, and the oldest living and longest reigning British monarch, died at the age of 96 at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. She had died by 1630 BST, and her death was publicly announced at 1830. She was succeeded by her eldest son, who became Charles III. Queen Elizabeth II has been laid to rest next to Prince Philip, her husband of more than 70 years, capping a day of pomp and ceremony that unfolded with metronomic precision and extraordinary attention to detail. The final rites began with 96 bell rings on Monday 19 September 2022, one for each year of her life at Westminster Abbey, where her state funeral was held. The guest list for the service included around 500 foreign dignitaries, including President Biden and about 100 other heads of state, representatives from dozens of royal families and members of the House of Windsor, including the Queen's great-grandchildren George and Charlotte attended the large, initial service, which was followed by a procession to Windsor Castle along a route lined with dense crowds. That route led to a royal vault at St. George's Chapel at Windsor, where the Queen's coffin was lowered before her burial, which the royal family's website confirmed Monday. There, at King George VI Memorial Chapel, she was reunited with her prince for eternity. Share, comment, like and subscribe to my channel for more fascinating videos.